Here we go. Welcome to the No Script Show, where we have a man that probably needs very little introduction, a bit of an enigmatic figure, the man, the legend, Mr. John McAfee, who's just taken an awesome tequila swig. Welcome to the No Script Show, sir.
Well, God,
Cheers.
thank you for having me on. I like you guys already. Odin's drinking scotch. His partner's sitting on the floor of a bathroom. We're all drinking. This is excellent.
Yeah, well, this is good. Our quote unquote official sponsor is a local pub that we like to joke is our sponsor because Ruan spends way too much time there. So
I do, yeah. It's a little bit embarrassing, but they've got some good scotch.
Sounds like you guys are sponsoring the pub rather than vice versa.
Yeah, that probably is the case. Definitely is the case.
Yeah. John, let me start off by saying it hurt me deeply when you had to suspend your presidential campaign. Technically,
Listen, you have to. I see that. What's weird? It was Super Tuesday, even for the Libertarian Party. And I was actually way ahead in states like Alabama, but that's not the point. I'm trying to show the absurdity in the whole system, the absurdity of the political process, people posturing for power, people paying hundreds of millions of dollars to get a job paying $300,000. Well, my mom and dad told me if it doesn't add up, then it doesn't add up. And so it's absurd. Yeah. And Vermin Supreme, who I had my campaign manager reach out to his campaign. Now, Vermin Supreme is a libertarian who's been around for 40 years, who wears the boot on his head. Good friend of mine. I like Vermin very much. I would rather see Vermin Supreme as president. And here's why. Presidents really have no power. You're watched, you're controlled. You're impeached if you get a blowjob in your office at 6 months.
We're both old enough to remember that.
Yes, and yet no one even knows the vice president's fucking name. They're just non-existing people, and yet they're the second most powerful people in the world. And so naturally, if a vice president gets ahead in his office, no one gives a shit because, number one, no one's watching. No one cares about him. Presidents don't go to the Ukraine and cut billion-dollar deals for their families. Why?
Yeah.
Vice presidents go over and do it. No one knows who the hell they are. And so, no, I'd much rather be that man. It occurred to me. I thought, well, why would I want to be president? I'd much rather be the vice president. You got all this power and no controls. No one gives a shit about you. What better position could you be in? So, so I'm quite happy with this change. And also, let me be honest with you. It began to look like I would not gain the Libertarian Party nomination. Why, there's some big names playing now. But unlike the other two parties, the president does not choose his vice president in the Libertarian Party. The vice president is voted in separately. All right. And nobody gives a shit about the vice president in the Libertarian Party. No one cares who it is. But if I'm running, and by the way, I don't even need to get Vermin Supreme to say he would prefer me as his vice presidential candidate in the Libertarian Party. I've got the right to run for vice president. Now I will clean the fucking field in the vice presidential candidate. So here's the issue.
Just please no more Gary Johnson.
Please, no, absolutely. Vermin will not be nominated. Who cares? Somebody will be. And they're going to be stuck with my sorry ass as vice presidential candidate. Now, this is my strategy. And I may have made a mistake in the strategy, although I do not think so.
Okay, well, from that, I guess we can sort of extrapolate maybe your feelings on. I always tell a lot of my American friends, and I have a lot of family in the States, I'm like, why do you not simply vote Libertarian? And it's the same lifting refrain every damn time. A vote for a third party is a wasted vote. And it just drives me insane. I was just wondering your thoughts on that.
A vote for any party is a wasted vote, people. It doesn't matter who the president is. No, let's just get serious for a minute. Presidents have had no power since 1960. Dwight Eisenhower, when he left office in 1960, was the last president with any power. And he only kept his because he was the supreme Allied commander during World War II. He just had too much clout for the CIA to push him. The CIA could not push him around. However, when he left office, he warned us specifically, if the CIA is not reined in, it will take every American freedom. And we did not rein it in, and it has. What happened next? John F. Kennedy gets into office. He sees what's going down. He says, I'm going to dismantle the CIA and give the pieces to all, because we have 14 covert agencies in America. We don't really need it. 1 month later, the poor bastard had an accident.
Accident.
Now, John Kennedy's, JFK's brother, Robert Kennedy, ran for the next election, and he announced that if elected, his first order of business would be to dismantle the CIA. 1 month later, he was shot in the head. Now, why? Because it was clear that if he ran, he was going to win. And somebody at the CIA said, you know what? It's going to be a lot easier to whack this guy as a candidate than to whack a sitting president. 2 presidents in a row? Not going to work good, is it, folks? The next poor bastard, Richard Nixon, merely wanted to reduce their power. Now, we're not going to dismantle you. You just don't need to be in everything. Well, what happened to him? He was forced to fucking resign. Now, apparently, reducing the power is not a whackable offense. Threatening to completely dismantle them, it's going to shoot you in the head. Now, how did they keep their power?
True.
That's the question. Let me tell you how. They keep their power through control of information. Good God, we live in the information age. And if you do not understand the power of information by now, move out of your mother's basements, please, and smell the coffee. It is what power is. How do they wield it? In 2 ways. They manufacture it, information, or they selectively take the truth and weave a story. Because if there's enough truth, I can weave whatever story I fucking want. Any story. So here's the second Gulf War. And the CIA is structured like an empire, right? You've got kings. I don't know what they call them, some internal things. I do know what the CIA calls presidents, transients.
They sounds like a good name.
No, transients that come, they go to work. They're idiots. They're stupid. They don't even speak Farsi and Arabic or Chinese. There are some CIA agents that speak 30 languages fucking fluently. All right, so course presidents are idiotic transients, and they treat them like that. So, second Gulf War, whoever's in charge of the Middle East in the CIA, who is the real king or prince or whatever over there, calls Washington and says, listen, I got a serious problem, and it's got to be dealt with now. I can't tell you what, because it's the CIA. You don't have a need to know, even if you are my boss. This is their second power that they have. It says, but I want it done. And I want them bombed into oblivion. And I want it tomorrow. Washington goes, whoa. Washington's CIA goes, God damn, that's a heavy order. He says, I am serious. This is of critical importance. You must believe me. So Washington goes, well, this has never been wrong yet. I guess we got to bomb them. And he wants it tomorrow. Fred, you and Jake, the president, go make it happen. And the congressional people, you 400 congressional people, go to your congressman after Fred and guys have got the story. What's the story? Mr. President, please, thank you for accepting this emergency meeting. Please, Mr. President, sit down. I regret to tell you of a horrific situation and an imminent virtual collapse of our nearest and closest ally, England. We discovered that Iraq has nuclear weapons, Mr. President, with 100% certainty. 100% certainty.
Oh, that lie.
I've told you before. They have missiles capable of reaching London. And Mr. President, we have absolute certainty that tomorrow afternoon, a missile will strike the heart of London with a 50 megaton head, which will annihilate the entire city. No, Mr. President, we're not here to advise you. No.
You make the decision.
We're just here to inform you about what the facts are. And Mr. President, I am glad this rest. Well, fuck me, what do you have? You had no goddamn choice. 4 hours later, we bombed every military installation and possible site where a missile could be launched into the Stone Age. Were there nuclear weapons? Of course not. We all fucking knew there were. God, it's Iraq.
Nobody believed that.
They're still living in the 14th century. Of course they've got no nuclear weapons.
None of us believe that.
That is just really scary how much power. I mean, they've got this power.
It's not how much power the CIA has. And maybe, I don't know. Listen, they're not evil people. They're not. There are no greater patriots. However, they have subverted our Constitution. Admittedly, presidents are idiots. I mean, anybody willing to spend $100 million to get a job paying $300,000 has to be an idiot. I mean, but they don't have a calculator, right? Why don't you people calculate the cost and how much you're going to get in 4 years and subtract, and you're going to find your $100 million in the hole. You don't run, businesses or households on that. So no, they've got to be idiots.
Fixed term. It's a fixed term job.
Yes.
If you fuck it up, it doesn't matter. You just leave it as an expert.
8 years max. The average is 6. Many could come win 4. And so, of course, they're transient. CIA personnel are lifetime employees. They spend 8 hours a day studying the nuances of international relations, of history, political alliances, culture, language, religion, social structure, and potential turmoil. God, they know it all. And we have an idiotic president spend his life campaigning for power. Well, good God, who? I'm going to ask you quite frankly, who do you really want running America? I mean, if that is your choices, but it's not what we constitutionally accepted and wrote and demanded. No, that's gone. So what you're looking at is a charade. And it has been structured so that the two-party system, Republicans and Democrats, are so
one and two.
So divided. Impeachments and pro-gun and anti-gun and pro-immigration and anti-immigration and social reform and take responsibility for yourself. And there's a war. Well, of course, we're glued to a war. I mean, if you have driven down highways where there's an accident, goddamn, the traffic stops. We are so glued to the horror. But if someone's baking an apple pie by the highway, do you stop? Oh, we don't give a shit about anything good. It's the horror that affects us. And so the horror of this chaos of this two-party system keeps us entertained while the CIA runs the country. Well, please God, this is not what I signed up for. And I have good friends, the CIA. And also, it's the CIA who's after me. Well, who else would it be other than them? The CIA had set up Janice and I for our arrest in the Dominican Republic before we even entered the fucking country. Charged us with a bizarre crime. It was not true. Entering the country without declaring our weapons. They refused to let us talk to customs. Of course, we couldn't declare them. But they weren't going to do anything to us. Don't worry. It's not a bad crime. We're just going to deport you back to America. I said, I didn't come from America. I said, well, I'm sorry. You have to go. But I got lawyers. And my lawyers got a brief in the Dominican Republic Supreme Court who said, you may not ship Mr. McAfee anywhere until he's allowed to have his day in court. Well, we won that at that moment. They took us out of jail to the VIP lounge in the Santo Domingo airport, where there was an African head of state sitting next to us, and we were served by white gloved servants. That's how much that change was.
Wow.
So I'm sorry, go ahead.
You know about accidents, so I think Ruan wants to discuss something about a certain someone which we know wasn't an accident.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, before we even discuss that, I think, I mean, obviously,
if it's JE, if you use that name on the air, the AI that's monitoring our conversation is going to kick this conversation upstairs to someone who's looking for, there's some serious shit going down here. Listen to these motherfuckers. I heard the JE name. No, they're guys too stupid to know what the E is, right?
Yeah.
Jesus something, who knows? But yes, talk about Jeffrey Epstein, no doubt.
Well, actually, before we get on to that, I know that I've heard that you've got some interesting stories on very good disguises that you've used to get out of situations, and I think it would be pretty interesting to hear some of your. I think the German one is one of your favorites.
I mean, they're all kind of favorites. You know, I don't like shaving my beard. I have done so a few times, but I've done so just to escape situations because I didn't have any other way to do it. When I shave my beard, I don't recognize me. My wives don't. Nobody recognizes me. So, but I don't like doing that because you don't have to. My biggest disguise, and disguise has everything to do with location, right? So in Belize, I managed after the first week of being on the run to get refuge in the top floor of a warehouse right next to the Queen Street Police Station in Belize City, the largest police station in Belize. Now, right off the bat, I could have gone out like me and say, I'm John McAfee. No one paid any attention. I'm right next to the goddamn police station, right? Policemen come out of the station are not thinking, look for this bastard. They all have my goddamn picture in their hands, and they would pass me by. My disguise was simple. I walked, I stooped over like a crippled old man. One thing. When I cut my beard short, dyed it black like old men do to try to look younger. And everything just black. Stooped over and hobbling around and saying, help. Help, but not really words, but like, I wanted help. Well, fuck me, this is the reason no one's going to help jack shit, because no one looks at crippled people, do they? Because if you look at a crippled person, they might look at you back, and you're fucked right then, right? So, no, people ignore you. So no one even looked at my face. Number one, they're not looking for me here. I can't be here. I'm next to the police station, and I went to the grocery store across the street to shop once a fucking week. No, and I'm crippled clearly and in need of assistance. So no one's going to help my sorry ass. This is a third world country. The whole country is crippled to some degree. So no, you ain't getting no help. And that was my most effective. No, people go, well, that was not much of a disguise. Well, goddamn, it worked. That's all that matters to me. You know, so, you know, and other times, okay. And because of my beard, if I trim it properly and shape it, you know, and if I talk just right, you know, I could appear to be a gay old man who's interested in these young boys, right? That's another thing nobody wants to pay attention to. Not men. Men do not want to be approached by gay men who are obviously flames, right? So that worked well. You know, another thing. This is something very simple. If you're near a bathroom, get yourself a roll of toilet paper.
Some sort of
Yes, it's fine. No, you got cheeks like you got them. No, I had to. It takes more than just stuffing. You got to shape them, but you can.
That's amazing.
Totally change the shape of your fucking face.
Oh yeah.
And then women's mascara, especially black, circles under the eyes, and just like you're dirty, greasy. Make sure you get old, ragged clothes that preferably worn by a pig because you want to smell bad. So no, it's not just looks; it's the entire projection of who it is you want people to think you are. But yes, I am not a master of disguise. I've certainly used them more than the average person.
But good enough.
Pardon?
Yeah. But you're not a master, but you're good enough. You're good enough.
I haven't out yet. I mean, by people looking for me when I'm in disguise, no.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, with all the surveillance and so on, we've got shit looking at your face and all these things. But I mean, obviously, you're a tech guy. I'm also a tech guy. I work a lot in cryptography and so on, especially in the banking sector. And a lot of people actually don't understand that, yeah, facial recognition and biometric scanners and so on, they can pick up who you are, but they are never sure it's you. Never as sure as a password would be.
If you're in an area where that's heavily monitored by cameras, you have to, number one, you'd better be wearing a wide-brimmed hat, preferable a straw hat. Or if you're a high-class person, get yourself a Panama hat with a wide brim. Pull it down over the eyes. Baseball caps don't work very well. Don't shade too much. Don't use small sunglasses like this. Get these big things, again, that old people use to take up half of your face. Pull the collar up, all right? There is no AI in the world that can fucking identify you. If you do simple things of this nature, head down, can't identify your face if you can't see it. Can't identify your face if you can't see more than 20% of it.
Yeah, because it all works on probability, right? I mean, it's all
right.
probability.
But if they can only see 20% of your face, they got no fucking clue who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
You might as well be anyone.
Get a nice, clear face, preferably from the forehead. Like to see the hair if they can. You take the hair away. You take the eyes away by a brim. Half of the cheeks by massive, you don't even have to use sunglasses. You get massive glasses with thick frames. That's enough. The reflection from the glass is enough to confuse things. No, that's simple to bypass.
Yeah, it's just super interesting. I mean, we are being surveilled on pretty much everything, and even
your cell phone is your biggest surveillance device, followed by your television set, especially if you have Samsung in their manuals say, if you want to have a private conversation, do not have it in front of our television because we're listening to you. Why? Because we're trying to help you. You just watched a movie and you're saying that sucked. Well, we're not going to present a movie like that to you again. We're trying to make your life easier, and we can't do that if we can't listen to you. Do you see how we're trying to help you?
The technology makes sense. I mean,
pardon? Well, of course it makes sense.
It makes sense for customer experience.
It makes sense to the sheep. It makes no fucking sense. Well, the sense it makes, you guys are pretty goddamn clever. That's some clever shit there. But no, I unplug my fucking television when I'm not watching it. From both the internet and from the fucking wall. A powerless device cannot convert your voice to text and send it off somewhere to be analyzed. So, good God, television's your telephone. Your telephone's doing the same goddamn thing 24 hours a day.
And yet,
despite you do not think so, if you listen, Janice and I, we were talking. Oh yeah, here's the thing. What are the capers? Capers. That's what they are. So we were having a discussion, and we were not. We were talking next to each other, and she was saying, "What are capers?" And I know why, because we ordered something in the restaurant that had capers on it. I go, "Fuck me, I don't know. They're little green things. Are they animal vegetables? Fuck me, I don't know. I mean, they look kind of like rat turds, don't they? But who fucking knows?" So I go, so I went to Google. I go, "What are?" And it filled in capers.
No, well, yes, expected.
Capers. All right. Now, If that's not proof that something really freaky is happening to
Yeah.
us, then you tell me what is.
But
Yeah,
so many people are okay with that. They're like, this is convenient for me to have Google suggest this route to, and I'm like, are you insane? Are you absolutely
Oh,
insane as to how this?
naive. They're naive, and they're thinking, oh, the world is a perfect place. Look how nice it is.
and
It's
convenient
helping
it is.
me.
Yeah.
It's making my life easier. People, therefore, must be wonderful things because people created that. No, people are not wonderful things. Not your mom, not your wife, not your children. And if you believe they are, you haven't looked at them closely because we are all the same. We have love and grace and compassion and generosity. And we also have anger and fear and jealousy and greed. All of us. Now,
Oh yeah.
you give power to someone who's a human. Which of those attributes are going to take over the power? Well, not the love. Love doesn't need no power, does it? Not
Nope.
compassion. Does it need power? No. Greed needs power in order to obtain what you're greedy for.
Oh yeah.
Lust needs power in order to get the person into bed or whatever. I don't mean power to overcome, some kind of power, money, something to lure them, Portia. Fuck, I don't know. But it's the bad parts. Not forget, I hate good and bad, but the negative parts of us. The
Exactly.
those parts that are not life support, okay, that need the power. So you give a human power. Who do you give it to? Worst part of the person. You don't
Yeah.
give it to love. Love doesn't need power. Well, fuck me, I love you. You're going to pay me. I'm not going to love you more. Compassion. Does compassion need power? You
No,
see
it does
someone
not.
on the street who's hurt and bleeding. Oh, I don't have enough power to help. Well, please, God, no. It's greed that needs power, lust that needs power, fear needs the most power because fear's got to build a wall around you to make sure that you are safe. And that's costly and takes a lot of power. So, do you understand why power corrupts? It can't do anything other than corrupt because it
Oh yeah.
can't help anything in you which is positive. Good God, how do people miss this? So these people we're talking about, the naive ones, oh, how wonderful life is. Look at all the things they're giving me.
Yeah.
Pigs must be the same before they're slaughtered. Life is so wonderful. I don't
Yeah.
do jack
Yeah.
shit. And they fill my feed bowl. Well, yeah, tomorrow they're going to come and slit your throat, right? It's reality. Because if, in fact, life is filling your food bowl, life is just about to slit your fucking throat. Because
Interesting.
you
Yeah.
have to fill your food bowl, people. We are in the worst, not just 1984. We are
Beyond that.
we're in George Orwell's time machine, where he goes forward in time.
Yeah. I don't think he could have ever imagined the
No,
time that we're in now. Yeah.
yes, he goes forward in time and he meets the Eloi, the young innocent children, and food just appears on the fucking table for them, and everything is beautiful. Clothes appear on their beds. Houses just fucking appear. It's an Eden, and everybody's so happy. Once a year, the Eloi, the Morlocks, oh yeah, the ones who eat these kids come forth and eat them and then go back underground. So, no, if you think that life is like this, then something's about to eat you or kill you or use you in a way
Yeah.
that you're not going to like. And I'm telling you the truth, people. And if you just reason through it, good God, how simple. How can power help anything except the worst of you?
If you aren't paying for the product, you are the product, basically.
There you go. Now,
Yeah.
it used to be the parents taught their kids this before they even sent them to grade school, before they even socialized, because even in grade school it starts, right? this bizarre socialization process. We're going to beat the bad out of you, and we're not going to feed it. Okay, that's fine. That never has worked. But the parents would tell you shit like, listen to me. There's nothing free in life. There's just a fact of life. There is nothing free. And Timmy, if something does not add up, then there's something. If 2 + 2 is no longer 4, walk away. You're with the wrong crowd. And we're in the worst of that world now. Not only does 2 + 2 not equal 4, but 100 billion doesn't equal 300,000. The people spend that. You have to ask. Don't ask why people are spending it, because it's obvious. It's worth more than $100 million to get that power. That's clear. But people go, oh, well, the president didn't pay it. Well, fuck me, somebody did.
We did. Yeah. Somebody did, yeah.
So somebody's expecting something, right? Or is it just our hearts? I love the world and I want to give it things. No, none of us out there like that. So we're in the worst of those times, people. And all the things that my parents taught me, which I never fucking forgot, nobody's paying attention to anymore.
There is no free lunch.
The big thing, not why are they spending the money. The question is, why in the flying fuck are we voting for them? That's the big question in my mind. It makes sense why they want the job. Yeah, spend 100 million and get 5 billion. That's business sense. I got it. I see why you're doing it.
I'll take that deal.
What I don't see, why the fuck are people voting for them? That's the question in that's the shocker.
Yeah.
It's the horror, because what my parents said, it would be so, John, here's an example. Here's a president running. Now, no one's going to vote for him, but notice he spent $1 million to be president. So does that add up? Back then, he only got 100,000. He has a $100,000 salary. He can only stay 8 years. Does this make sense? Little 6-year-old John. No, it doesn't. Okay. Would you vote for him? No, no one will. And no one back in the 50s voted for anybody who spent money. Fuck me. We had better sense. No, now we vote for the person who spends the most. We want the most corrupt person in the government. The one who wants the job. Now, what is the job that they want? Caretaker for 400 million souls. Caretaker for this glorious country from sea to shining sea, with the grand Tetons and the Rocky Mountains, the vast deserts, the beaches of California, the Grand fucking Canyon, people caretaking this. And you want to spend $100 million to be a caretaker? I can't imagine a worse fucking job. I mean, you have to work 25 hours a day just to keep your head above water.
Yeah, it's amazing how that ages you. That job makes you real old real fast.
Yeah, it does. It does. But anyway.
So what's the alternative then, really? Like, I mean, this is the system. I mean, we live in South Africa. We really don't like our political system, for instance. And we kind of really envy the United States political system. Because at least for us, from our perspective, it's a lot better than the shit that's going down here.
Yeah, we have full-on communists in charge, basically. Well, borderline. They haven't quite raised the red flag yet, but pretty much.
Okay, you asked what the solution is. I only know one solution. Janice and I are in hiding. We've been in hiding since we were released from the Dominican jail in July of last year. But we're in a location, and we're with people who are all single-minded about one thing. We're not playing the game anymore. How do we not play the game? We do not ever use dollars, euros, Japanese yen, British pounds, South African rands, if that's still your currency.
Yeah.
No, we don't touch it. We don't use it. We don't have banks. We don't have credit cards. And if we work for people or institutions who pay us solely in privacy coins, cryptocurrency, Monero usually. And we do not ever buy anything unless we buy with crypto, because there's nothing you can't buy. Cars, houses. When Janice and I left the Dominican Republic, we stayed in a hotel in London, a nice hotel that only accepted cryptocurrency. You go into credit card, cash.
Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah.
So do you understand what that has done? It has freed us from the bonds of fiat currency owned by either governments or, in the case of America, private institutions, the Fed. So
it's amazing how many people don't know that the Fed is a private institution. To me, it's insane to me.
Yeah.
Do they realize that? It's crazy that people don't realize that.
I understand that because they what a great coup of language. Let's just call it Fed. Obviously, it means the federal government. No, just the Fed. Sorry. No, you couldn't do that today. Laws prevent that from happening. However, you have to grandfather in everything that happened in the past. So no, what a coup that was. No, so if you have to use those currencies, you are controlled by those who own them. You don't own dollars. You may have them in your person, but in America now, you can't have more than 10,000, because if you do, you're a criminal and we're coming and taking it. Everything's got to go through banks controlled by who? The Fed. No, please God, we're free from that. Because if your finances are not free, if you are controlled, then your entire life is slavery. Because without access to the rand or the dollar or the yen, you can't buy food, pay rent, buy a car, send your kids to school, get medical help. Do you understand the helplessness of the person who is controlled by the owner of the currency? Well, nobody owns cryptocurrencies.
I think that's what scares off a lot of people about it. They're freaked out about this concept of, oh, there's no government controlling this. How do I know that it's valuable? There's no. I mean, what?
Well, I've always been a skeptic about it.
Buy shit with it. I mean, I buy houses, cars, bulletproof vests, shoes, food, hotels, helicopters. All right. What else you need to know to understand if it's valuable? Can you trade it? Can you trade it for Rolls Royce? Yes, absolutely. But how do I know it's valuable? I don't want to talk to you anymore. If I've told you that, and you say, but how do I know? I'm sorry. Go back to sleep. So no.
It's super interesting hearing that you could actually just be off the grid and just live off cryptocurrencies.
There are tens of thousands of us around the world who have pledged to leave once and for all the corrupt systems controlled by fiat currencies, systems that are self-propagated through taxing a person's income. That's returned us to feudal ages. That's what kings used to do. You're on my land, you're going to do one of two things. You're going to work for me 3 months out of the year for goddamn free on anything I want. Or I'm going to come and take a third of your produce, whether it's
taxes are bullshit, man.
Pardon?
Taxes are bullshit.
But that's the thing. If you leave the system no longer gets your taxes. And it will collapse of its own overweight and return to what it should be. America had no taxes prior to 1913, and it was
bingo.
the power of the fucking world. People go, oh, well, how are we going to pay for the government? I don't fucking know. Why don't you ask how they did it? They did it because a government should be self-fucking supporting. That's why we put smart people in there. Figure out how to get the goddamn money, but you don't take it from us. We're not putting parasites up.
Yeah.
Businessman, figure it fucking out. You're a government, for God's sake. Get some goddamn money. All right. And before 1913, that's what happened in America. But they got lazy and started stealing from us. Well, fuck me. We didn't create a government to steal.
It is fucking theft, and
that is 100% fucking theft.
We have no control on how they spend it. Like that's That's the biggest problem with taxes.
Well,
I'm happy to pay for a product that I get value from.
Yes, I've paid. Okay, I've paid over $50 million in taxes in my life, and I swear to God, I promise you, I have not received $50 million in services from
well,
my
you won't,
government.
because it's too
never
inefficient.
will.
I don't think I've received 10 cents worth of services from I've received nothing but problems. Paperwork, fill this out, fill that out. You want to start a company? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Occupational Safety and Hazard Administration has to check you out. Good. When did it come? Well, not for 6 months. Well, I can't open? Fuck no, you can't open. We don't know if you're safe. Please, God, do you understand what's happened? The government just feeds on itself and grows. And it will grow until it starves the rest of us.
And any excuse is a tax. I mean, frickin' carbon tax.
Any fucking excuse. We need more money. Of course, you need more money. I mean, how many?
Of course, you fucking need more money for more projects.
There are too many obese people, so let's put a tax on sugar. That's not going to change anything. They're going to stay obese unless they want to change. You know, you're not doing anything.
Listen, I am very sorry. We're out of time.
Yes.
Thank you. I ran over. Let's give you one more question.
Last question. JE, what happened?
Well, he was killed by Mr. Tagliano, his cellmate, strangled, and who put a bed sheet around him and made it look like he hung himself. And how, please God, do you hang yourself if you're 6 feet tall from a 5-foot bunk in a way that breaks your neck in multiple places?
Exactly.
Again, what my mother and father, does it add up? He's 6 feet tall. So I'm imagining his neck. How the fuck? What did he do? He lift his feet? Because when they found him, he was on his goddamn knees. Now, on your knees?
Yeah.
How do you hang yourself on your knees?
Bingo.
Yeah, exactly.
So no. Of course, he was murdered, people. Anyway, Brother Ron, thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you, John. Cheers.
John, thank you. Thank you. It was really cool, man.
Cheers, and
cheers. Yeah, dude. That was good. Now we know Epstein. We can say Epstein now.
Yeah. Let's tie this call up, and in the call